Good afternoon. One day after a GO train derailed at Union Station, delays for commuters continue.
This is what it looked like when the train went off the tracks and made contact with a track switch, causing signal issues. The train has now been moved, but the problem is not fixed just yet. CTV's Allison Hurst is live at Union Station this afternoon with the latest on the situation. Allison.
Michelle, we've been hearing from commuters this morning. There have been delays, but nothing near what they experienced yesterday. 15 minutes, 20 minutes, some waiting still up to an hour for a train. The crews are telling us that at Metrolinx that the trains are running on a special schedule right now, so they're reminding everyone to double check things as officials on the ground continue to try and get things back on track. For the second day in a row, commuters are being impacted by a GO train derailment.
I came to get the 10:23, but it's changed, obviously. I got here early for that one, but now I have to wait the hour. So kind of annoying, but it's fine.
I was delayed as well this morning, as well as last night.
The Kitchener line derailment was first reported around 8:15 yesterday morning, shortly after departing Union Station.
It's one big shake, and then all of a sudden it's like rocking back and forth. The train car is now elevated. It's like very clearly there's something under one side.
Photos taken by a passenger show a signal that appears to be wedged under the train. A Metrolinx spokesperson says the train was traveling at a low speed when the rear train left the tracks and made contact with a switch. It caused major delays throughout the day.
I was delayed. I couldn't take the train.
And I was arriving Union Station. They stopped the train before the Union Station, I was waiting outside for like an hour. I have to go to work at Sunnybrook Hospital, so it was just a disaster.
Crews worked throughout the night to remove the train from the tracks. That part is done, so crews are now working to fix the issue. Still, Metrolinx warns of more delays today.
15-minute delay. Yesterday, I actually swapped the tracks in Pickering. I come from Pickering, so instead of being on track 1, it went to track 2. Then when we got here last night, it was an hour and 40 minutes last night. So it's getting better, but it's still a little bit delayed.
Like yesterday, the TTC is providing extra service today to try and support transit riders through their commutes. Metrolinx has yet to confirm to us how long all of this work on the tracks may take and when things will be back up and running completely. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Allison. To the TTC next, board members have been meeting in camera all morning.
Transit users hoping they'll get word on when the long-delayed Eglinton LRT will officially open. CTV's Natalie Johnson is live at the North York Civic Centre, the site of today's meeting. Natalie.
Hi, Nathan. That's right. The TTC meeting is now back in public session, but the big question for so many people here today is whether they will confirm when the Eglinton Crosstown LRT will finally open its doors for service. It is expected that we will get an update from the TTC CEO Mandeep Lawley on that item here today. Sources have for weeks now said that February 8th, Super Bowl Sunday, is the day that riders will finally be allowed to board this long-awaited line. Don't forget, construction on this transit line began in 2011. It was supposed to be complete by 2020. TTC officials have, however, been non-committal about this opening date, with the CEO having some reservations about issues involving emergency brakes. That does now appear to be resolved, though we are waiting to hear more details on that. Here's more from Councillor Josh Matlow, who sits on the TTC board this morning.
There's going to be both an opening announcement event, I understand, on Friday, and then a big real opening on Sunday. And, I recognize the interest by some to do a big celebration. This is just my personal view. I'm not in a mood to celebrate because I've seen such mismanagement. I know individuals who have lost their livelihoods because of the construction delays. I've seen the impacts on businesses. I've seen over $1 billion of tax dollars just wasted over cost overruns. And I actually think this is a moment where Metrolinx and the government should actually make the announcement with some contrition, recognizing that things should have been done better.
Now, it is expected that when this line does finally open, it will operate on a soft service level for the first few months, ramping up to full service after about 6 months or so. So again, we are standing by for the official confirmation that this long-awaited transit line will finally open its doors on Sunday. We'll bring you the latest tonight at 5 and 6 o'clock. Reporting live for now, Natalie Johnson. Nathan, over to you.
Thank you, Natalie.
And still ahead, we're learning more about the crash that killed 3 young hockey players in Alberta. We'll have the details in moments, along with how the hockey world is remembering their lives.
And we have more news in a moment, but first, here's a live look at the city this afternoon. There's clouds out there. It's cool, but near seasonal. Of course, the usual winter gear is required if you're heading outside, but we are not in that deep freeze. That's good. Lindsay Morrison's here with a look at the current conditions. Lindsay.
Yeah, it's nice to get a bit of a break from the extreme cold, Nathan, but we've got flurries out there. They're pretty widespread in nature. You can see them inching ever closer to downtown Toronto. Right now, it's communities along the 407 corridor, so around Milton, Brampton, Vaughan, Richmond Hill, over toward Markham. You're seeing a burst of snow right now, and it's inching into the North York area, downtown Toronto within this hour as well. So flurries today, a dusting to maybe a couple of centimeters of fresh snow accumulating. We've got a westerly wind that's going to tilt to more of a northwest wind as the day goes on. So while it's nice and comfortable right now at -3 degrees, relatively speaking, of course, we are going to cool down in a big way for tonight. Here's today at a glance. -2 degrees, cloudy with flurries. We'll give you an idea of how low the temperature will go overnight tonight coming up. But for now, Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. A man is dead after being struck by a vehicle in North York.
Information was received that the male pedestrian had been struck by a semi-tractor-trailer truck and had sustained serious injuries. Emergency services arrived on scene and located the pedestrian and provided life-saving measures. The pedestrian was transported to hospital, where unfortunately he succumbed to his injuries and passed away earlier today. The vehicle, the driver, and the driver involved in the collision all remained on scene.
The man, who police say is between 20 and 25 years old, was struck in the area of Steeles and Petrolia Road near Keele around 8:15 this morning. The circumstances leading up to the man being struck remain under investigation. To Etobicoke next, where investigators are looking into an overnight fire.
It started in a restaurant below some apartments. CTV's Rahim Ladani joins us live this noon hour at the scene with more. Rahim.
Hi, Michelle and Nathan. Yes, the fire from this, the damage from this fire is quite extensive. The windows are shattered. There is significant smoke damage inside the restaurant. Thankfully, the fire was contained to the actual restaurant, and it didn't go higher to any of the residents above it. There are 3 units above the restaurant. Fire officials tell us that the unit directly above it was vacant. However, it's someone who was in one of the other units. They had a working smoke alarm, and they are the ones that called 911. This all unfolded just before 3 a.m. on Islington Avenue, just north of Rexdale Boulevard. And at this time, it's being investigated as suspicious. Here's more from fire officials.
Building behind us at 2294 Islington. It's a commercial with residences up above. They did a quick interior attack on the fire, knocking it down with heavy smoke at the time, and doing searches on the apartments above as well. No residents were injured in the searches.
Now, as you can see right now, there are forensic investigators on scene. They've been coming in and out of the restaurant, taking photographs, continuing with their investigation. As for the plaza as a whole, all of the other businesses, they appear to still be open, and it's business as usual for them. Reporting live, I'm Rahim Ladani. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Rahim. And still in Etobicoke, crews battle a 3-alarm fire overnight at a high-rise. Toronto Fire says heavy smoke and flames were visible from the first floor of the building on Dundas, east of Kipling, when crews arrived on scene just after 1 a.m. 75 people were initially sheltered on bus, but the majority have now been allowed back in. The fire's been knocked down, and crews are ventilating the building. The cause and origin of the fire are under investigation. And no injuries. Toronto Fire say smoke alarms in the building were working at the time of the fire.
A highway in eastern Ontario remained closed this morning after a crash yesterday involving an ambulance. 4 people were injured, including one critically, after the ambulance collided with a tractor-trailer on Highway 7 in Madoc, north of Belleville. OPP did not provide an update on the conditions of the other 3 victims. The cause of this crash is still under investigation. In Durham region, police are investigating after a person was found without vital signs yesterday outside a home in Oshawa. The person was found outside a residence near Harmony Road North and Coldstream Drive. Durham police have not provided any details about the person or any updates on their condition. However, the owner of the home near where the person was discovered says they did not know this individual. Billionaire auto parts magnate Frank Stronach appeared briefly in open court in Toronto this morning.
His lawyers asked for and got a delay in the trial. CTV John Woodward was in the courtroom and joins us now with more. John.
Nathan, there are two things at issue that are delaying this trial. The first, the defense is concerned about the 6 new videotape statements that they got that they say they need time to go through. And there's also a number of pretrial motions that have to be discussed, often behind closed doors. All of this in the spirit of getting the trial of the 93-year-old billionaire auto parts magnate Frank Stronach underway. He's accused of 18 counts, including sexual assault from 13 complainants, going back as much as almost 50 years. This is the first set of complainants where incidents were alleged to have happened in Toronto. Justice Anne Malloy told the court she had seen the new disclosure, agreed that it was voluminous and it would take some time for the defense to go through it. So it is now tentatively scheduled for Thursday, though again, like I said, there are those pretrial motions that are happening behind closed doors. The judge said that it is required that they be private, according to the criminal code, which means they likely have to do with defense medical record, or victim or complainant medical records, and also sexual history. So the trial now expected to at least have an open hearing on Thursday. When it will actually start is still up in the air. Reporting live from 361 University, I'm John Woodward. Back to you.
Thank you, John. Members of the Elementary Teachers Federation will rally outside of the TDSB head office later today in support of colleagues at an East End elementary school.
It comes after parents say multiple teachers, along with the principal and vice principal, were either removed or suspended. CTV's Beth McDonnell reports.
It's so demoralizing.
Jen Engels is the school council co-chair at Bowmore Road Junior and Senior School near Woodbine and Gerrard. She says her child is one of about 300 students in grades 7 and 8 who've recently seen their teachers either fired or suspended.
An incredible lack of accountability, of transparency, of meaningful communication from the board. I have felt over and over again that they have just tried to sneak something past us.
Engels says the problem started early in the school year when the shared teaching model in place for 20-plus years abruptly ended. Teachers had taught certain courses and students rotated. Under the new model, teachers had to cover a wider range of subjects. She says this put extracurricular activities on hold because teachers had to brush up on topics. Then, on January 14th, Engels says there was a, quote, unsatisfactory meeting with parents about ongoing and increasing issues around violence and bullying. She says in the days that followed, the principal and 2 teachers were let go. Then, on January 29th, she says the vice principal was let go and 8 teachers were suspended.
I have no issue with these teachers. I think these teachers were caught up in this change management fiasco. We want our teachers back, all of them back. We want change in leadership at the superintendent level. I think even if we get a new principal, new administration, I don't think anyone has any trust that it's not potentially going to be more of the same.
In a statement, the TDSB says, we are committed to ensuring that all of our schools are safe places to learn and work. We are actively working to address parents' concerns, including bringing in additional supports to the school. With regard to questions about staff changes, we are very limited in what we can share about personnel matters for both privacy and legal reasons. CTV obtained TDSB letters sent to families explaining teachers are away and will be returning between February 4th and 10th, with occasional teachers filling in. The reason or reasons for the teachers' absences were not stated.
It's just really worrying because we just want to make sure our children are safe, and that's the most important thing to us.
I just don't know what to do right now. It seems like every time something's brought up, some more actions are taken by the school board that we're not aware of, and things change.
Beth McDonnell, CTV News.
We're learning more today about a devastating crash that killed 3 members of a junior hockey team south of Calgary.
The crash occurred yesterday morning as the 3 teens were on their way to practice. Let's bring in CTV's Scott Hurst for more. And Scott, what have you learned about this crash and those players involved?
Michelle, the hockey community is in mourning, but the outpouring of support goes far beyond the hockey world because, of course, the sport is so ingrained in our life, in our society, in our culture, but also this devastating tragedy brings back so many deep memories and deep cuts of the Humboldt Broncos' devastating crash nearly 8 years ago. Here's what we know about the players and of the crash itself. The Southern Alberta Mustangs, based in Staveley, Alberta, which is about 1 hour south drive time from Calgary, sharing the tragic update that 3 junior hockey players were killed in a car crash on their way to practice. They've been identified as J.J. Wright and Cameron Casorso, both 18 years old, from Kamloops, British Columbia, and 17-year-old Caden Fine from Alberta. The team sharing their heartbreak on social media, and part of that update says there are no words that can adequately express the depth of our grief. These young men were more than just hockey players. They are teammates, sons, brothers, friends, and deeply loved members of our Mustangs family and communities we call home. In terms of an update from RCMP, Mounties say Monday's deadly crash happened at around 11 a.m. between a gravel truck and a smaller car. Mounties are confirming the players were pronounced dead on scene. The driver of the semi, a 40-year-old man, a resident of the local community, was treated for minor injuries on scene, Michelle.
It's so sad. Your heart breaks for their family and their friends and the hockey community. Let's talk about the outpouring of support in this country.
The outpouring of support, as you might imagine, is far and wide, but we can focus our attention on Toronto specifically. We got an update from the GTHL, the Greater Toronto Hockey League, sharing their thoughts and condolences, saying that they're heartbroken. And in a statement provided to CTV News, it goes on to say, it's been a very heavy week for the hockey world. In times like these, we lean on the community that ties every team, rink, and family together, and will continue to be there for one another. We also heard from Prime Minister Mark Carney, as you see more of the statement from the GTHL. Mark Carney offering his condolences while walking into Parliament earlier today.
It's a tragedy. It's the nightmare of every parent, every teammate, family, friends, and my heart goes out to obviously to the families of the victims and the team.
Earlier today, the Calgary Flames and entire hockey world were saddened to learn the passing of 3 members of the Southern Alberta Mustangs junior hockey team who were tragically killed in a motor vehicle accident south of Calgary. Join us in observing a moment of silence in remembrance of these 3 young men who were just mourning this morning.
And Michelle, this was a moment of silence that was held last night in Calgary in a game between the Calgary Flames and the Toronto Maple Leafs to honor the 3 players killed. We're also learning that a similar tribute is being planned for tonight in Edmonton in a game between the Edmonton Oilers and the Toronto Maple Leafs as well, Michelle.
Just a lovely show of support. CTV's Scott Hurst live for us in the National Newsroom. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Canada's industry minister says the federal government is working to recover millions of dollars in public funding from General Motors. Hundreds of workers at GM in Oshawa are out of work after the 3rd shift was cut. It was the company's 2nd major downsizing in Canada in less than 6 months. In Ottawa this morning, Melanie Jolie said efforts are underway to recoup money from the automaker.
I've already said that we would get our money back from Stellantis and also from GM. We're in evaluation mode right now as to how much. Of course, a lot of our support was linked to production, and therefore if there was no production, obviously there was no funding. And so that's what we are focused on, and I'll have more to say on Stellantis in the coming days. And we're also in contact with GM. At this point, when it comes to GM also, back in December, we decided to reduce their emission quotas. Basically, the amount of cars they can bring to Canada without tariffs has been reduced because obviously they've decided to shut down Ingersoll, and now they're going after the 3rd shift in Oshawa.
Julie also says Ottawa will do all it can to support Bombardier in the aeronautical sector. She did not provide details, but says she's spoken with the company's CEO. It's unclear if Donald Trump will follow through with a threat to slap 50% tariffs on jets made in Canada. The U.S. president has also threatened certification of Bombardier's planes.
Scarborough Southwest MP Bill Blair is resigning. The Prime Minister's office says Blair will become the next High Commissioner to the UK and Northern Ireland. He previously served in several cabinet positions, most recently as the Minister of National Defence. A by-election will be held in Scarborough Southwest to fill his seat. A date has not yet been announced. And within the past hour, word that MPP Dolly Begum has resigned her seat as an NDP member of the provincial legislature, and minutes later was announced as the Liberal Party candidate to run for Blair's seat in Scarborough Southwest. Begum was the deputy leader of the opposition and has represented Scarborough Southwest for more than 7 years.
Authorities in Arizona believe the 84-year-old mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie was kidnapped.
We saw some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we processed that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime.
Officials say it's crucial that Nancy Guthrie is found soon because she could die without her medication. Guthrie was last seen around 9:30 p.m. Saturday at her home in the Tucson area where she lived alone. Guthrie has limited mobility, and officials believe she did not leave on her own.
The killing of 37-year-old Alex Preddy by Border Patrol agents late last month has been ruled a homicide, according to the medical examiner. The ICU nurse was fatally shot while protesting ICE agents' deployment in Minneapolis, part of President Donald Trump's crackdown on immigration enforcement in that state. The medical examiner's report says Preddy's killing was a homicide caused by multiple gunshot wounds. Now, a homicide ruling does not mean it was murder, but it typically triggers an investigation into the death and whether the killing was justified. The Department of Justice is also conducting a civil rights investigation into his killing.
The Duke of Edinburgh is stressing the importance of remembering the victims in the fallout of the Jeffrey Epstein case.
I wonder what you think of this, because it is so close to home, clearly very difficult, and I know you've put in various plans in place to move the institution forward, but how are you coping with that?
Well, with the best will in the world, I'm not sure this is the audience that is probably the least bit interested in that. So they all came here to listen to about education solving the future. But no, I think it's all really important always to remember the victims and who are the victims in all this.
Prince Edward was asked for his thoughts 3 days after the U.S. Justice Department released more than 3 million pages of files related to the investigation. Meanwhile, Bill and Hillary Clinton now say they will testify before a U.S. House of Representatives committee investigating the Jeffrey Epstein case. The couple had previously refused, and the former U.S. president offered to give a transcribed interview. But the committee insisted both must comply with their subpoenas to appear. If not, they could be held in contempt of Congress and face possible criminal charges. Democrats accuse Republicans of politicizing the probe.
Ukraine's president says Russia has broken an agreement to halt striking energy infrastructure. Russia carried out a major overnight attack that included hundreds of drones and a record 32 ballistic missiles. At least 10 people were injured. Volodymyr Zelensky says the bombardment specifically took aim at the power grid. Kyiv says the Kremlin is conducting an ongoing campaign to deny civilians light, heating, and running water during the coldest winter in years. The attacks happened as the country prepared for more talks on ending the war.
U.S. Mideast envoy Steve Witkoff is set to hold a high-level meeting in Israel today ahead of nuclear talks with Iran later this week. Witkoff is expected to meet with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and the head of Israel's defense forces. Senior officials say the talks will likely focus on Iran. Witkoff and Iran's foreign minister plan to meet Friday in Istanbul to discuss a possible nuclear deal and other issues. On Monday, Iranian media said Iran's president has ordered the start of nuclear talks.
Canada's Jeremy Hansen will not be heading to space this month after NASA delayed the launch of its Artemis 2 moon rocket. Yesterday's critical fuel test stalled with about 5 minutes and 15 seconds left in the countdown. NASA made the call to delay the launch this morning after multiple fuel leaks during that test. It's now looking at a new launch date, possibly as early as March 6th. It's also possible it may not happen until April. Hansen and the other 3 members of the crew will be moved out of quarantine. NASA plans to use the extra time to review the data and try another fuel test. Lindsay.
Well, after so many cold days in recent weeks, it's nice to enjoy a seasonal one. -2 degrees is our average temperature this time of year. I'd say this winter has been anything but average, but today we are right where we expect to be at this time of year. -2 is our forecast daytime high. Still expected to feel like -8 through the afternoon. And of course, we are looking at flurries and mostly cloudy skies. Here's the thing, though. We cool down again as early as tonight, back into the -teens for a low. And then watch out this weekend. The next blast of Arctic air is on the way. We're going to talk about this. We're also going to talk about the Great Lakes ice coverage and what this could mean for the rest of your winter season. That's up next here on CTV News at noon. Stay with us.
Well, look behind us. I think if you got a snow globe of the city of Toronto, we would have the dome, the CN Tower, and this view. We've got a light snow shower this hour, and at least it's not incredibly cold.
Right, and also it's not the major dumping that we had last week. We can manage with this.
We can handle this,
Yeah.
yes. If anything, this will be a trace, a dusting to maybe 2 centimeters of snow in some areas locally, and it's not freezing cold yet. Here's the problem. Things are going to change again as we make our way into the night tonight. It's going to be quite chilly, so you'll feel that waking up tomorrow morning. And then this weekend, we're back into the deep freeze with another blast of Arctic air on the way. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Now, before we get to your forecast, I want to bring you up to speed on the ice coverage on the Great Lakes. This is Georgian Bay, which is now almost entirely covered in ice. So why is that important? Well, we've had quite a season so far of lake effect snow, and we know that that happens when the cold winds blow over the relatively warmer waters of the Great Lakes. And as a result, cities like Barrie, like we're seeing right here, have had 300 centimeters of snow already. So now that Georgian Bay is frozen over, that's going to mean a little less in the way of lake effect snow. Of course, system snow will still bring more in the way of snowfall. Look at those snowbanks there in this part of the province. My goodness. Also worth pointing out that Lake Erie is almost entirely covered in ice, 95.3%. Current Great Lakes ice coverage is at about 50% on average at this time of year. It's around 39. So yes, we can thank all the cold weather we've had recently, and more specifically last week, it was very cold and it wasn't as windy. So that allowed a lot of ice to form on the Great Lakes. So that will certainly play into the rest of this winter. Of course, right now we are getting some snow, not so much lake effect snow. This is a front that's just moving through. And with this, we're seeing a little burst of snowfall activity around the GTA. As the low departs, we're going to tap into more of a northwesterly wind. But fortunately, it doesn't cool us down all that much for the daytime hours today. It will tonight, though. Pretty quiet, though, generally speaking, active weather-wise as we make our way through the next couple of days. I do want to mention Thursday night into Friday. That looks like our next best chance to maybe pick up a couple of centimeters of snow. But here's a look at the snowfall accumulation that we are expecting through midday Thursday. Doesn't look so bad here in the GTA. Might see a little accumulation in eastern Ontario. -4 this hour at Pearson Airport. Tonight, though, we're dropping to around -13, -14 degrees. And once again, it is going to feel closer to -20. There's tomorrow at a glance. Nice mix of sun and cloud. A little cooler. -5 is the forecast daytime high. And similar temperatures are expected right around the Golden Horseshoe and into eastern sections of the province as well. 7-day forecast. So again, early Friday, possibility of snow. And then Friday night into Saturday, temperature back around -20 degrees, feeling closer to -30. That's the weather for now. Nathan, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Live next to CTV's Jessica Smith, who's at the Scarborough Museum this noon hour. And Jess, you're talking origami. Tell us more.
Nathan, I made these. I want you to know it was very difficult, but I had a lot of help. We're at this really, really unique exhibition here at the Scarborough Museum. So shout out to Scarborough because there's always so much fun stuff going on. And we are inside an exhibition called I Am Scarborough. And I'm joined by the community artist herself, Kseniya. So talk to me about what I Am Scarborough is, because we're standing in the midst of hundreds of origami butterflies, but they're representing this community in such a beautiful way.
Thank you, Jess. This project is very meaningful. It holds a very deep meaning to me because Scarborough is my first home in Canada. I am from Uzbekistan originally, came here 7 years ago, and this is where I started my new life. I was always very inspired by the diversity. I know that Scarborough is one of the most diverse communities across Canada. And just, I was very compelled to represent and to show this diversity to the outer Toronto, to the whole Toronto, in a way that was coming from residents themselves. And so having this beautiful opportunity at Scarborough Museum, I was here over a few months in summer, just situated right in the middle of the museum in the beautiful Thompson Memorial Park, inviting folks from all walks of life to come and fold butterflies with me as a representation. As you can imagine, each of the butterfly is representing one person, an individual from Scarborough. But together, we're shown flying, taking a flight beautifully together.
And it's so connected. It really is a beautiful representation. And there are poems people have written as well. Why include that as a component in this installation? Because it's cool to see, and you know that they were made by people from the community, but you also get some of their personal stories from little kids to the grown-ups.
Absolutely, and I think that was the most beautiful thing to me, that I love the most. This is a metaphorical representation of us. Butterflies are of different sizes, they're of different colors, and again, they're flying together. But at the other part of the exhibition, you can see the context. Who are the people who made these butterflies? The whole idea of this project is to personify Scarborough, to show that Scarborough is 630,000 people, beautiful people with their own stories who live here and call it home.
What was your favorite part of the process? Because I know this is a number of weeks and then you can come and see it now, and it's my favorite price to come see it, which is free. But what has been your favorite part of this whole project? Because I know it was a number of weeks putting it together and now it's on display until the end of March break. But what was your favorite part or a key part to this project for you?
Thank you. I think it's a good question, because for me as a community engaged artist, community is always the center of any project. It's the key why I do it, why I do any of my art. Just sitting there, having this very mindful activity, chatting with people, knowing their stories, learning about our beautiful world, about countries that I may have never visited and may never visit, but meeting real people, telling me what it is like to be from this part of the world or that, was the most beautiful.
Well, Kseniya, thank you so much. We're going to continue building beautiful butterflies. You can even come down and make one yourself. We're going to send things to break. We have more news and weather coming up.
Thank you.
Updating one of our top stories, it is now official. Moments ago, the TTC confirmed leaked reports that the Eglinton Crosstown LRT will open this Sunday. The TTC plan is for a phased opening approach. Officials say it's based on lessons learned from the problem-plagued Finch West LRT. Plans call for additional service elements like extended hours to be introduced in phases, but the first day of public ridership will be Sunday, and the service will be free to ride on Sunday. Construction on the line began 15 years ago and was initially set, you might remember, to open back in 2020, but has been delayed multiple times due to various issues.
A Vaughn family is in a race against time to find a cure for their son's extremely rare condition.
CTV's health reporter Pauline Chan has more on the situation facing the little boy and his family.
Whoa! How did you do that? He has an infectious laugh and is doing very well with his current routine of various therapies. But Lucas Azevedo's family fears the mutation in his RBM28 gene may rob the 2-year-old of his chance at a full and healthy life.
We've known about it since November of 2025. There is no official name for it or diagnosis for it.
It's kind of a rare mutation that he has.
Lucas's uncle, himself a neuroscientist, says so much about the boy's future is a mystery.
What it appears to do is be involved in the formation of the ribosome and the function of the ribosome. The ribosome is a cellular structure that converts genes into proteins.
Sophia says there is a boy in Mexico who appears to have the same mutation, but other than that, they don't know of any other cases. Their best hope is to develop a personalized gene therapy, and they've already found a clinic in the U.S. that's willing to do that, but the price tag is $1.7 million Canadian, and they need almost 300,000 Canadian just to begin the first stage. They've started a GoFundMe page and consulted with Terry Pirvolakis, who also fundraised to get his son, Michael, a gene therapy for his ultra-rare disease known as SPG50. They raised $4.5 million, and he says it's a very tough thing for families to face.
A disorder with under 5,000 patients in the U.S. is not commercially viable. So companies will not take those programs on, just like Michael's disorder. So the only way to move the needle and to save your child is to unfortunately do a clinical trial and raise millions of dollars.
We don't know exactly how it will affect his future. We only know because there's so little known about this variant that it's progressive. That's all we know so far.
Sophia says their cost is less for the gene therapy, but even with it, the future is unclear. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
It is February, and the Heart and Stroke Foundation is out with its 2026 Heart Month report. It says while the death rate from heart disease and stroke has decreased more than 80% over the past 7 decades, more than 6 million Canadians are living with heart disease or stroke. It also revealed the adult smoking rate has declined to 11%, but remains the leading cause of preventable death. Just over half of children and only 2 in 10 youth meet their daily physical activity recommendations, while fruit and vegetable consumption has been declining across the board in the past decade. Nearly 1 in 4 adults report that most days are quite a bit or extremely stressful.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Many families have trips in the works, especially for March break, to escape all this cold weather.
If you're traveling with grandchildren or nieces and nephews, you need the proper documents or you might not be allowed on the plane. CTV's Pat Foran has more.
It was very sad, you know.
Avita Gordon of Brampton was going to Jamaica with her husband for a wedding. They decided to travel with their grandchildren as Gordon's daughter had flown ahead as she was in the wedding party. But when they were boarding the plane, there was a problem.
I asked for a letter for the grandkids to show that, you know, I have permission to travel with the grandkids. I said I don't have one.
Gordon was told without documents showing the children were allowed to fly with her, they could not board the flight. All 4 of them ended up not getting on the plane.
I wanted to give the grandchildren a trip with myself, you know, and I didn't get on the flight. It hurts, you know, so much money down the drain.
The couple had to buy new airline tickets the next day, and the grandchildren had to stay home with relatives. This happened in December of 2024, but the Gordons had been seeking a refund from Air Transat, which was denied. A spokesperson for the airline told CTV News the children were traveling with their grandparents without a parental authorization letter, which is a mandatory requirement when minors travel without their parents or legal guardians. This rule exists to protect minors and prevent child abduction.
It is heartbreaking because it's something that I think people just don't think about when they're booking that trip and when they're making their way to the airport because they're just excited to be going, right?
Travel expert Jennifer Weatherhead says it's important to have the proper documents when traveling with a minor or you will be denied boarding.
You need their passport, birth certificate, parental consent, and that letter should be notarized to make sure that it is okay. You need to have proof of your relationship to the child as well, and then any kind of custody documentation.
You'll find travel information on the federal government's website and how to write a consent letter. Gordon wanted to warn other grandparents what happened to them.
If anybody's traveling with young kids, I advise them, make sure you get a letter of permission to take the grandchildren or whoever you're taking with you.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Toys R Us Canada is facing another lawsuit from a landlord that says it terminated the retailer's lease for failing to pay rent. A court filing from RioCan Holdings says the store chain didn't pay rent for last month for a space at one of its Toronto shopping centres. The landlord says it would warn the company it would end its lease if it didn't make a payment, then followed through with the threat on January 20th. Toys R Us has been closing dozens of Canadian stores and has been sued at least 7 times by landlords in the last year. Mysterious lights have been spotted hovering over southern Manitoba.
And now a group of area residents has banded together to try and figure out exactly what's going on. CTV's Danton Unger explains.
You can always see them in the distance over here.
Monique Kirchie has noticed something strange going on in the skies of southern Manitoba.
Like they fly all over the town.
Over the past few weeks, Kirchie says she and her neighbors have seen large drones like this hovering around Kleefeld just west of Steinbach.
It's only at nighttime that they're hearing and seeing these things, and so it raised a lot of concern, the fact that there's so many and it's so many frequent sightings. Nobody knows anything.
She's reported it to the municipality and the RCMP, but so far, no answers as to what's behind the sudden uptick in drone activity. Steinbach RCMP did confirm they've received one report of drones flying over the city as well as in the Le Broquerie area, hovering near houses and waking people up. RCMP say at this point, no other reports have been received. Corporal Ryan Cadot says it can be difficult to track down the operators of drones.
It's tricky because a lot of these drones have considerable range, and unless you can find the pilot, there's not a whole lot we can really do about it, unfortunately.
Still, if a drone is flying on private property or getting a little too close for comfort, Cadot does encourage residents to report it to RCMP. As for Kirchie, this is a mystery she wants to solve. That's why she's created the Community Drone Watch.
Drone chasers, unite. I was kidding, but at the same time kind of serious because people had been posting about noticing all these drones flying around for the last few weeks.
While not taking herself too seriously, she does hope this will lead to some answers, like who's flying these drones around her area and why.
So far, nobody knows what these things are. They're just these big, large drones that have been flying around.
Danton Unger, CTV News, Steinbach.
To sports, the Leafs took on the Flames in Calgary last night, looking for their second win in a row.
In comes William Nylander with a big shot, scores! 35 seconds in, the Leafs have the lead.
William Nylander had a goal and 2 assists as the Leafs beat the Flames 4-2. Matthias Michelli, Troy Stetcher, and Bobby McMahon also scored for the Leafs. Former Leaf Nazem Kadri had a goal and an assist for the Flames. The Leafs will play their last game before the Olympic break tonight in Edmonton.
The top prize at the Westminster Kennel Club Dog Show will be handed out today. You can see there the pooches are getting pampered as they get ready to compete for Best in Show at Madison Square Garden in Manhattan. All of the 200 breeds represented at this show have a certain look their owner and handlers need to maintain for the judges. This year marks 150 years of the famous canine competition.
After the break, the story behind this old egg and why one man has kept it in his fridge for 60 years. Finally, this noon hour, we want to introduce you to a BC man who never has to worry about running out of eggs.
Yeah, you could say that. That's because he's kept the same one in his fridge for 6 decades now. CTV's Adam Sawatsky explains why.
When David Jevney was almost 6 years old, he woke up before his parents on Easter morning, took a raw egg out of the fridge, and drew a face on it.
Why not? Doesn't everybody draw a face on an egg at Easter and put it back in the fridge?
David doesn't remember why he did it or why his parents kept it, but he can't forget it being a constant while growing up.
And when you open the fridge door, you would always see it looking back at you.
More than a decade later, after David moved out, the egg stayed put.
A little bit of family history.
Does it have a name?
Egbert. With 2 G's. There's no better name for an egg. It's the only name for an egg.
Egbert remained in his parents' fridge, uncracked and uncooked, for 50 years, until they passed away and David packed it up to move in with him and his wife, Lise.
The reaction was probably, oh my goodness, okay, well, do we have to take it to the next house we're moving to?
But after moving with the egg 5 times since, Lise has grown to appreciate it every day.
It's like, oh, right, there's Egbert. So good morning. Yeah, I haven't said good morning, but I'm probably saying it in my mind to him. Yeah.
And soon they'll be saying happy birthday to him. Because although Egbert's insides have started rattling,
he's still in there.
His outside remains unscathed.
Not one crack.
Egbert's kind of inspirational.
He is. He's strong.
And he's set to celebrate being 60 years old.
How long is Egbert going to stay in the fridge?
Forever, as long as I'm here. And the older you get, the neater it is.
And the older we get, the more precious we realize life is. So when we can find something that connects us with our past and improves our present, why not preserve it into the future?
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Esquimalt.
All right, what do you think?
I can't believe the Eglinton metaphor for life.
Well, all of a sudden. Oh, my goodness.
He's got to put it in his will, and someone will inherit it, and hopefully Egbert. But I really kind of want to see what's inside it now.
I was surprised they were shaking it around like that.
And it has no smell. It's
fine.
fine.
I'm sure it does.
Okay.
We have more questions, but we'll leave it there for now and take one more look at what's happening weather-wise into tonight. Still expect a few flurries this evening, not quite like what we're experiencing at this hour. And then it tapers off for the overnight hours, but look at that forecast low, minus 13 degrees. Tomorrow, minus 5. That's not bad, a little cooler than today. And here's the school day forecast for your Wednesday. Your 7-day forecast looks like this. A little bit of snow for Friday and much colder air as we move into the weekend. Once again, Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.